Midnight Talks presents Home Alone.
Part 1. The Night Begins. The house was too quiet. That kind of quiet that makes every small sound, the hum of the fridge, the creak of the floorboards, feel like a whisper from something unseen. 12-year-old Ethan Miller sat cross-legged on the living room couch, surrounded by empty soda cans and half-eaten pizza boxes. The weekend was his, no parents, no rules. Just video games, movies, and snacks until sunrise. Outside, the October wind howled against the windows. Rain tapped gently on the glass like impatient fingers. Ethan's mom had left that afternoon for a business trip in Chicago, and his dad was working an overnight shift at the fire station. They'd left him enough food, their neighbor Mrs. Denton's phone number, and one strict rule: don't open the door for anyone. No matter what. Of course, Ethan laughed when they said it. This was a safe neighborhood, Brookville, just outside Portland. Nothing ever happened here. He turned the TV volume up, blasting his favorite horror movie, Night of the Hollow Ones. The flickering light from the screen painted the walls with shadows that seemed to move on their own. 11:07 p.m. Halfway through the movie, the power flickered, once, twice, then went dark. Ethan groaned. Come on. Seriously. He grabbed his phone to check the Wi-Fi, but it was gone too. The only light came from his screen, glowing pale blue across his face. Outside, thunder rolled across the sky, deep and long, like something massive had just moved above the clouds. He sighed and texted his dad, "Hey, power went out again." "I'm fine, though." No response. He checked the time again. 11:10 p.m. He stood up, flashlight on his phone, shaking slightly as he scanned the room. Everything looked normal, until he heard it. Creak. From upstairs. He froze. Maybe it was the wind, the old house. But then it came again. Step, step, slow, heavy, measured. Someone, or something, was walking across the hallway upstairs. Ethan's throat went dry. He turned off his phone light, holding his breath. The house sank into complete darkness. Another sound, faint but clear. The soft drag of fabric against wood. Someone was moving. Ethan swallowed hard. He wanted to yell, to run outside, but the storm outside was roaring now. Sheets of rain beat against the porch, and flashes of lightning burst through the window. Gathering courage, he reached for the baseball bat leaning near the couch. His dad's old one from high school. "Hello?" he called out, voice cracking slightly. "Mom? Dad?" No reply. Only the slow creak of a door hinge upstairs. He pointed his phone's flashlight up the staircase. The beam shook as he lifted it. 1 step, 2 steps, 3. The air upstairs was colder, much colder. As he reached the top, he noticed something odd. The door to his bedroom was open. He was sure he'd left it closed. He stepped closer, gripping the bat tight. "Who's there?" Lightning flashed through the window. For a split second, he thought he saw a shadow inside his room. Then darkness again. His heart was pounding so loud he could barely hear the rain anymore. He took a deep breath and stepped inside. The room looked normal. Bed unmade, posters on the wall, his laptop still on the desk. But something wasn't right. His blanket was pushed aside, and sitting neatly on his pillow was a small folded piece of paper. Ethan frowned. He didn't remember leaving anything there. He reached for it slowly, hands trembling. In shaky handwriting, the note read, "You shouldn't be alone tonight." He dropped it instantly. His stomach twisted. Lightning flashed again, and this time he saw it clearly. A tall, thin figure standing in the hallway mirror behind him. Not moving. Just standing. Watching. Ethan turned around. The hallway was empty. When he looked back at the mirror, the reflection was gone. His breathing turned shallow. The note lay on the bed, fluttering from the draft of the open window. Ethan ran and slammed it shut. The storm screamed outside, wind howling like a living thing. He backed into the corner of the room, clutching the bat. He wanted to call for help, but his phone suddenly died. Black screen, battery drained though it was 70% minutes ago. Then came a whisper, soft, raspy, close to his ear. "Don't turn around."
The whisper slithered through the dark, like cold breath on glass. Ethan's entire body froze, every muscle in his back locked in place. He could feel his pulse hammering in his throat. He wanted to scream. He wanted to run, but his body wouldn't obey. The room felt smaller, tighter, like the air itself was closing in. Faint whispering echo. "Ethan." The voice said his name, soft, almost playful. That's when he bolted. He spun around, swinging the baseball bat wildly. But there was no one there. The room was empty. His breath came out in short, broken gasps. Light switch clicks, no power sound. He stumbled toward the light switch, flicking it up and down. Nothing. Still dark. Then, a sound from downstairs. A faint, scraping noise. Something heavy, dragging across the floor. Faint, dragging sound. Low hum builds. Ethan tightened his grip on the bat and crept toward the staircase. His dead phone reflected a tiny glint from the hallway window. A flash of lightning outside. The scraping stopped. Then, 3 slow knocks from the front door. 3 heavy knocks echo. Knock, pause, knock, pause, knock. Ethan's heart sank. He tiptoed to the top of the stairs, peering down through the darkness. The door loomed below, like a black rectangle in the faint moonlight. "Who's there?" he shouted. Silence. Faint rain continues. No answer. He waited. Then, a voice muffled through the wood. "Ethan, let me in." Voice sounds calm and motherly. It sounded familiar, soft kind, like his mother. For a moment, relief washed over him. "Mom?" "It's cold out here, sweetie." Open the door. Tone changes subtly. Voice slightly distorted. Ethan froze. Something was wrong with the voice. The tone was right, but the rhythm was off. Too slow, too even, like someone mimicking a recording. He stayed silent. "Ethan," the voice said again, "I'm your mother. Let me in." He felt chills crawl up his spine. His mom wouldn't say that. She'd say, "Hey, buddy, open up." She always did. He whispered to himself. "You're not my mom." Distorted laugh begins, slowly morphs into shrill cackling. The voice on the other side started laughing, a low, distorted giggle that turned into a choking, rasping sound, like someone trying to laugh and scream at the same time. Ethan ran to the kitchen and hid behind the counter, clutching the bat tight. Knocking intensifies, rhythmic and loud. Knock, knock, knock. "Ethan, don't ignore me." He could hear the door handle turning now, slowly, creaking back and forth. Handle rattling sound. He looked around the dark kitchen. The only light came from flashes of lightning through the window. And then, during one flash, he saw it, a face, pressing against the glass from outside, pale, smiling, 2 hollow eyes, staring straight at him. Soft thunder hit. Heartbeat sound resumes. Ethan ducked down, trembling. His breathing came out in short, sharp bursts. Then, silence. For a long moment, the only sound was the rain. Soft, ambient pause. Ethan slowly lifted his head above the counter. The window was empty again. No face. He exhaled, shaking. Maybe it was over. Maybe, clack. Metallic sound of door unlocking. The back door. Ethan's heart nearly stopped. His parents' key ring had a distinct jingle, and that was it. Someone was inside. Slow footsteps echo, wooden floor creaking. He backed away from the kitchen and darted toward the hallway closet, squeezing himself behind a pile of coats. The smell of detergent and mothballs filled his nose. From inside the darkness, he heard slow, careful footsteps on the linoleum floor. Step, step, step. The sound of the fridge door opening, then closing. The figure moved toward the living room, each footfall soft but deliberate. Too deliberate. Ethan pressed a hand over his mouth, trying not to breathe. Then, a whisper from the hallway. Right outside the closet door. "You found my note." Faint reverb on voice. Eerie tone. Ethan bit his lip until he tasted blood. The footsteps stopped. He could see a thin line of light under the closet door. The faint silhouette of 2 feet standing just outside. Seconds crawled by like hours. Then the voice again. Closer. "I used to live here, Ethan." Ethan's pulse spiked. "What?" "Your parents bought my house. I used to sleep in your room." Soft, breathy laugh. "And I never left." Ethan wanted to scream, but couldn't make a sound. Then silence again. No footsteps. No breathing. Just the sound of the rain. 10 seconds ambient pause. Storm wind rises slightly. He waited. 5 seconds. 10. Then slowly reached for the doorknob. He turned it, millimeter by millimeter. When he pushed it open, the hallway was empty. Soft ambient hum. He crept out, still gripping the bat, and looked toward the living room. The front door was wide open. Wind blowing rain inside. The curtains fluttered like ghosts. Ethan stepped closer. "Who are you? What do you want?" No answer. He moved toward the door to shut it, then noticed muddy footprints leading in. Small, bare footprints, and one of them ended right behind him. Heartbeat quickens. Pause. He turned but saw nothing. Just shadows. He slammed the door shut and locked it, then bolted for the stairs, taking them 2 at a time, his heartbeat thundering in his ears. Footsteps racing sound. He ran into his room and locked the door behind him, pressing his back against it. His phone still dead. The clock on his desk blinking 12 o'clock again and again. Electric hum of clock beeping. Then, a faint scratching sound from under his bed. Slow, persistent, like nails dragging across wood. Scratch sound, increasing subtly. He crouched down, shaking, and whispered, "Who's there?" No answer. The scratching stopped. And then, from the darkness beneath the bed, a voice whispered back, calm, deliberate, "You're not supposed to be home." Silence. Wind outside. Faint giggle echoes and fades. Part 3. Under the bed. The words slid from the dark like a whisper that shouldn't exist. Ethan's knees buckled. He dropped the bat, the clatter echoing through the room. For a heartbeat, nothing moved. Then came a soft shuffle, something crawling. He stumbled back until his shoulders hit the door. The room felt smaller, the air thicker. Lightning flashed outside, painting everything white for half a second. That was enough. A pale hand shot from beneath the bed. Thin, veined, fingers too long for any human. It gripped the bed frame and pulled itself out. Slow, deliberate. Ethan froze. He reached for the doorknob, twisting, but it wouldn't budge. Jammed. The face that emerged was distorted. A man's, but wrong. The skin stretched like an ill-fitting mask. Eyes wide, catching the lightning in dull silver circles. "They said you'd be gone," the man hissed. "They always leave the lights off." Ethan screamed and slammed his shoulder into the door until it burst open. He tore down the hallway, locked himself in the bathroom, and slid to the floor, trembling. His heart pounded like it wanted out. Footsteps followed. Slow, steady, step, pause, step. Then came that voice again, lower now, almost amused. "You're faster than the last one." The floor creaked. Then, silence. Ethan pressed his ear to the door. Nothing. He counted. 10, 20, then stood. His phone was still dead. No light, no signal. He eyed the bathroom window. Small, but maybe enough. The rain outside poured hard, but anything was better than here. He unlocked it, pushed it up, and froze. Outside, standing in the downpour directly below, was the same man, looking straight up. That smile, too wide, too still. He lifted a finger to his lips. Shh. Then he vanished into the dark. Ethan stumbled back, knocking over the towel rack. The clang echoed through the house. Immediately, heavy footsteps pounded up the stairs. No time. He climbed onto the sink, squeezed through the window, and dropped into the wet grass. Bare feet splashing, he sprinted toward the neighbor's yard. Mrs. Denton's porch light glowed faintly. He ran and banged on her door. "Mrs. Denton, please help me." "Nothing," he screamed louder. The porch light flickered, once, twice, then went out. He turned. Across the street, his house stood silent. One light glowed, his bedroom window. Someone was standing there. The man, watching. Ethan ran. Down the street, past dark houses and ghostly mailboxes in the rain. He didn't stop until his lungs burned. He ducked behind a parked car, shaking, tried his phone again, still dead. Lightning flashed, and in the car window's reflection, he saw movement. The man was walking down the middle of the street, barefoot, dragging something behind him. The baseball bat. Ethan covered his mouth, fighting a sob. The man stopped across from the car, head tilted as if he could smell him hiding. Then, barely audible through the storm, "You shouldn't have read the note." Ethan didn't move. His pulse roared in his ears. Another flash, and the man was gone. Just gone. Ethan crawled out, bolted toward the woods behind the neighborhood. Mud pulled at his feet, branches tore his arms, but he didn't care. He ran until the houses vanished and only darkness remained. He reached a small clearing and collapsed, gasping. The woods were silent except for rain and distant thunder. Maybe he'd lost him. He leaned against a tree, eyes fluttering shut. Then, from the shadows, "You ran just like she did." Ethan jerked up. Nothing there. He stepped back, tripped over something half buried. A shoe, small, red. Beside it, a torn piece of pink fabric with cartoon stars. And beneath it, a soaked, half-buried note. With shaking hands, he unfolded it. "You're next." Thunder cracked above. He spun in every direction. Empty woods. Then a sound. A faint camera click. He turned toward it. A figure stood among the trees holding a phone. The flash went off again. Blinding white. When his vision cleared, the figure was gone. Only the smell of wet soil and something metallic, like rust or blood, lingered. Ethan fell to his knees, trembling. He whispered to himself over and over, "Wake up, wake up, wake up." But the storm didn't stop, and somewhere deep in the woods, another flash, then another, and another, each one closer than the last. Part 4. The photographs. Rain dripped from Ethan's hair as he crouched in the clearing, his fingers clamped around the soaked note. Lightning flared through the trees. For a heartbeat, he saw something pale between the trunks, a face half hidden watching him. He stumbled to his feet and ran deeper into the woods. Branches snapped under his bare feet. Every flash of light revealed new shapes, shadows of trunks, roots, in the ghostly blur of falling rain. Then he tripped over something hard and fell forward into the mud. He turned his phone over in his palm, still black. When lightning lit the clearing, he saw what he'd fallen on. A small metal box, half buried, rusted hinges, old latch. His shaking fingers pried it open. Inside were photographs, dozens of them. At first, he couldn't understand what he was seeing. They were all of his house, different angles, different rooms, some taken through windows, some from inside. He turned one over and nearly dropped it. The date on the back, September 16th, 2023. Just last month. The next one showed him asleep in his bed. His breath caught. He flipped through more. Him brushing his teeth, watching TV, eating dinner. Someone had been taking pictures of him for weeks. A whisper behind him, greater than, "You're very photogenic." Ethan spun, swinging the metal box, but it hit nothing. The woods were empty. He stumbled backward, clutching the photos. In the distance, through the trees, he saw the faint glow of streetlights, civilization. He ran again, crashing through undergrowth until he reached the back fence of another house, a modern two-story home with big windows and a glowing porch. He clambered over the fence, slipped on wet grass, and sprinted to the door. He banged on it frantically. Greater than, "Help! Please! Someone's after me!" A man opened the door, older, in a flannel shirt, startled. "Greater than kid? Are you okay? He's in my house. He's been taking pictures." The man grabbed his shoulder gently. Greater than, "Slow down. Come inside." Ethan stepped into the warm hallway, shaking. He dropped the photos on the counter. The man frowned as he picked them up. Greater than, "Where did you get these?" Greater than, "The woods." He was there. The man flipped through them silently, his brow furrowed deeper with every one. Then he looked up. Greater than, "These are old." Greater than, "What?" He pointed to one. Greater than, "Look at that photo. The wallpaper. That pattern hasn't been there for years." Ethan blinked, confused. "No, that's my room. That's what it looks like now." Greater than, "Kid, that house burned down." Ethan froze. Greater than, "No, it didn't. I live there." The man shook his head. "The Millers moved away after the fire 2 years ago. Nobody's lived there since." Ethan's chest tightened. He stepped backward, heart racing. "No, I was just there tonight." The man's expression softened, like he was speaking to someone in shock. "What's your name, kid?" Greater than, "Ethan." "Ethan Miller." The man went still. Greater than, "Ethan. That's the boy who—" A sudden crash from the living room cut him off. Both turned. The front window had shattered inward. Rain poured through the jagged hole. Someone had thrown the baseball bat inside. The same bat, Ethan's. The man grabbed the phone on the counter. Greater than, "I'm calling the police." He didn't get the chance. A shape moved behind him, fast. Ethan barely saw it, just the blur of a pale face before the man dropped to the floor with a dull thud. Blood smeared across the tiles. Ethan screamed and ran toward the stairs, slipping on the wet floor. He didn't look back. The intruder's voice followed him, sing-song and mocking. "You can't run from where you already are." Ethan bolted into an upstairs bedroom and slammed the door. The lock clicked. He pressed his back against the wall, shaking. He could hear the man's footsteps below, slow and steady. Then silence. For a long time, nothing happened. Ethan edged toward the window. The rain had slowed to a mist. The neighborhood looked empty, asleep. Then from behind him, a whisper. Greater than, "Smile for the camera." A flash of white light filled the room. The sound of a camera shutter echoed. Ethan turned and saw a figure standing in the doorway. It wasn't the intruder, it was himself. Same clothes, same face, except pale, hollow-eyed, smiling too wide. The doppelganger lifted a camera and took another picture. "Now we match," it whispered. Ethan stumbled backward, screaming. He grabbed a lamp from the nightstand and hurled it. The light shattered. When it flickered back, the double was gone. Only the smell of smoke remained. He looked out the window and froze. The house across the street, his house, was on fire. Orange flames licked the walls, smoke pouring into the night sky. In the upstairs window, he saw the same pale figure waving. Outer Part 5, The House That Watches. The fire glowed against the low clouds, painting the street orange. Ethan's mouth went dry as he watched his house burn. Flames hissed in the rain, consuming everything. Faint sirens sounded in the distance, muffled like a dream. Behind him, floorboards creaked. He turned slowly. The hallway was empty. The air shimmered with heat. Black ash drifted under the bedroom door. The smell of smoke thickened. He ran to the window. The frame was too small to climb, but he saw the street below, and a figure standing in front of the burning house. The man, still smiling. This time he wasn't alone. More shapes appeared. Motionless silhouettes burned into the smoke. Tall, thin, pale figures standing shoulder to shoulder, facing Ethan's window. They didn't move or blink, just stared. He backed away. Photographs he'd dropped earlier curled from the heat. One fluttered onto his shoe. He picked it up. It was a photo of this room, but the bed was gone, the walls black with smoke, the window frame melted. In the center, a small boy stood where Ethan stood now. Same clothes, same face. His hand trembled. He flipped it over. Written in messy scrawl. Greater than, "You were never alone." The lights flickered. The walls warped and peeled, revealing blackened wood. Wallpaper melted like wax. Ethan stumbled to the door, yanked it open. The hallway was gone. Only fire, raging, deafening, swallowing everything. He screamed and turned to the window. The figures were closer, at the yard's edge, faces shimmering in the heat. The man's voice rose through the flames, calm, almost gentle. Greater than, "We told you not to stay." The floor cracked beneath him. Smoke filled the air. He pressed his hand against the wall. Hot, real. Then, silence. No fire, no smoke. He was back in his bedroom, wallpaper intact. Bed made, clock ticking. 7:12 a.m. Morning light spilled through the curtains. His phone buzzed. Shaking, he checked it. Greater than, from unknown. Number 1, new photo received. It was a picture of him asleep, taken from the foot of the bed. Timestamp 6:59. a.m. Ethan's hand went cold. He looked to the bed, empty. Then from downstairs, the front door opened. His mother's voice floated up, cheerful. "Morning, honey. We're home early." Relief surged. He ran down the hall shouting, "Mom! Dad!" He turned into the living room and froze. They stood by the door. Their faces were wrong. Too smooth. Too still. Like wax. Like masks. Behind them, the man stood smiling, eyes hollow and silver. Greater than, "Welcome home, Ethan." 1 week later, the Brookville Gazette reported the Miller house fire. A tragic accident. No survivors. Neighbors swore they saw flickering lights at night, heard a boy's laughter from the charred frame, and sometimes found photographs in the gutter. Blurry, water-damaged shots of a small boy in the upstairs window, smiling.